Welcome to the You Heard Podcast. This is episode 113 of the podcast. Find the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube with the video, Anchor.fm, www.youheardpodcast.co. We cannot afford DM. This podcast is brought to you by Formosa Hot Sauces.
Yes.
Made in California. Family sauce. If you like hot sauce, you like flavor, you like taste,
dude.
FormosaHotSauces.com. You know where to go.
And I'm gonna start thinking about possible like what slogans.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start dreaming up slogans for it.
Do you have one right now or no?
I'm just gonna come off the cuff real quick.
Okay.
Make dull eggs of fiesta.
All right, and we're at this Formosa.
There it is. Formosa hot sauce, dude.
Dave, how you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing really good.
Hey, Dave's here. Mike's here. Dave,
yeah.
take it away.
Yeah. Let me take it away here.
Take it away.
Got a special guest. My man right here, who I'm about to introduce. He requested this episode, this numerical episode. This was about 20 episodes ago. He said, Dave, I'm specifically asking for this numbered episode. And he'll tell you I came through. Today on the show, we got... Oh, hold up now. We got Shaun Paul Costello on the podcast. Actor, director, writer extraordinaire. Fellow Philly Playhouse West member, Shaun Paul Costello. Welcome to the show, baby.
Hey, here we go. How we doing today, Shaun?
I'm feeling wonderful. Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate that you even offered me a chance to come on here, and I'm grateful just to be here, you guys.
Yeah,
man.
We're glad to have you, man. How are things in Philly? How's the weather?
Good, great, amazing. We had most of the rehearsal outside in the backyard today, which was really fun. Especially since we're doing me and my buddy are doing a mob scene right now, so we're talking about how we whacked the wrong guy. And all my neighbors are like, what?
What play is this? What's this from?
Men in Suits. It was just introduced to me by my scene partner. So today was a very first initial reading of it and just kind of talking about our history and building up some background for us and stuff today.
Got you, Shaun. Well, Shaun Paul here, Mikey. He's got a little surprise for you, man. He rehearses. How often do you rehearse, Shaun?
7 days a week for the last 3.5 years.
Do you hear that?
So, wait, I had to
say it again.
Yeah, I had to
say it again.
Almost.
We're almost on day 1200 in a row without missing a day.
No days off.
Yeah, we've been at it. No days off. We strive for excellence at our school. A lot of our students are fans of you guys.
Hey.
What the heck?
We all about hard work and getting better a little bit every day. Just keep grinding, Plus, I love doing it. It's fun.
Is that so? That's part of like the teachings. Like, is that like a personal thing? Almost?
No, actually, I actually started it to impress Juliet, who popped her head in when I first met her. I had a huge crush on her, and I wanted to spend time with her, and she was willing to drive into Philly. And it started right before the Christmas break. She started coming to class. So by New Year's, I was like, "Hey, I'm going to start like this year rehearsals thing. Like, you should come over like every day." And I figured I'd have a picture of us every single time we hung out.
Wow.
And now it's like 4 years later, and she's like, "Another picture?" I'm like, "Yep." We're still doing it.
In the beginning of the pictures, you guys were on opposite sides of the room, and then you just like every day, it just got like a little bit closer as the days went on.
Yeah.
And then we stayed close for a little while. And now it's like this again.
Hey, we won't get into that. Let's
right there, so it's fine.
It's fine.
You ever see the like video of someone did like they took a picture of like a day, like every day for whatever, how many years?
Oh yeah,
and then like they do the time lapse thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
You should do one of those.
I mean, he's kind of doing it.
Yeah, we're shooting for 15 days now.
I'm in one of those, huh? I made it into one of those.
Really?
I'm in one of those.
More one of them. You've been here throughout the years.
Yeah, come on.
Sporadically.
Come on.
Probably in like 5 of them.
I don't know, man. That was a fun day.
Cool,
I went down into quarantine one day. I was going nuts, and then I was stuck in the house too long, and I was just like, I gotta do some repetition. I gotta do something. I'm going crazy. And Lena said, "Go. You gotta go. Go to Shaun Paul's." And I did. And I ended up with a full day of rehearsal and a brand new old typewriter.
Yeah, that typewriter was boss.
That was boss, dude. I still got it. Shaun, you know what, dude? I think you started getting into it on that day specifically. You got into it with me about how you got into acting. Like, I know your story somewhat, but Mikey doesn't.
Yeah.
So how would you describe like the process of finding, because you're one of these dudes, I mean, you do it every day. You do it every day. You got to love this thing. You got to have a real passion for it in order to do that. You know, if you're chasing a girl or not, you're going to give up at some point if you don't love this thing. So
yeah. And,
go ahead, bro. I'm sorry.
No, for me, I never actually set out to be an actor. I was always a lover of cinema and movies. I had a little bit of a rough patch growing up, and I had a little harder than a few others here and there. So I tend to turn to movies to help me get through life, forget about my problems. And some of my darkest times were the times that I was watching the happiest of movies that would help me get through. Even recently, I was watching Lilies of the Field, and like I was going through something in my life, and every time the nuns were praying, I was praying. I'm like, come on. I need the same thing to happen, just like the movie. Come on. And I still find myself as an adult doing it. And so it was, I actually was an ice hockey player. I was going to be a professional ice hockey player, and I broke my clavicle in my shoulder. Right. And then that kind of destroyed my career. So I went down to Wildwood, New Jersey in the summertime, punk kid at 18 years old, and just looking for a job. And I heard that they were hiring at this virtual reality game that had a live actor in it for $14 an hour. So I was like, yeah, man, I'll do this job. And I got hired as what they call a barker, which I'm just the guy hustling on the microphone, be like, hey, come here, let me tell you, I'll cut you a deal. Like, come on and bring your family, get the kids, So I'm out there like a carny, and somewhere in the middle of the season, people got fired, people left, yada yada. They needed someone to fill the early morning spot, and they were like, "Look, we'll give you a $3 raise an hour." And I'm like, $17 an hour? And I'm 38 now, so that's 20 years ago. I was like, "That's money back then."
Yeah, for sure.
I was like, "That's like $60 an hour to get like my age back now." Like, what? I'm in. So they give me this script, and they're like, I'm like, do I have to say what's on this? And they're like, no, just keep it family friendly and PG, and you can say whatever you want. Within a few weeks, I was the headliner, and I did that for like 3 summers from 18 to 21.
Wow.
For having an aspiration of being an actor, just it was a cool summer job that I did.
Yeah.
And I used to pick up girls all summer. And so when I decided to go to college at 21 years old, I didn't know what I wanted to do really, and I always had a big affiliation with children and helping children, so I thought I wanted to be a pediatrician at this point now.
Wow.
I was like, I'll go back to school for biology, and and I had to take some electives, and my very first semester I just took an acting class.
Yeah.
And the very first class, the teacher had us get up in this ridiculous exercise where we were all going to be kites. Everyone had to fly around the room. And everyone's like pushing and doing this and doing that, and I went and sat down on the couch, and I just kind of put my arms up, and she asked me, like, what are you doing? And I said, being a kite. And she's like, why are you moving around with everyone else? I'm like, I'm stuck in a tree. And she was like, in 30 years, I've never heard that response. And she liked me, and by my final monologue, she was the director of the play for next semester.
What play is that? What play was it?
And I was dating an actress at the time, so I was making fun of her, and they were all going to school for acting like hardcore seriously. And I was like, I'm a paid actor. I'm in the plays. I'm the lead.
What play was it that you were the lead of? What play did they cast you?
Fearless and Cressida, which is the worst play you could give a young, inexperienced actor to do. The lesser known Shakespeare play that nobody knows. They're like, wait, it's not Romeo and Juliet? I don't like this. And I had no idea what I was doing. I should not have walked out on that stage. I was in my head. I remember one performance being in my head, being like reciting something and just being like, man, I'm good. And like not in the moment. And just so bad, and so delusional back then. Man. But I was doing my clinicals for biology, and I saw death for the first time, and it rattled me. And it was an older woman too. It wasn't even like a young kid. And I stepped to the head of the department, and I was like, well, what if, he said, what if you lost a child? And I said, I couldn't handle it. I'd walk away. And he said, well, it's going to be your fault. You're going to kill somebody. And as a doctor, everyone does. Like, you have to handle that. Like, And there's only a timeline. You can only save people for so long. Eventually, you lose everybody. And I was like, I don't know if I can handle that. And he goes, well, I saw the play and I saw the things you're doing. He's like, maybe you're called to do something else. And he was like, people in 7 stages of dying tend to turn to acceptance eventually. And when they do, they tend to look at TV and movies so they can feel alive again and feel in the moment and feel something. And he said, maybe that's your gift. And I was like, I'm 21. I don't know what the hell do I got to lose? Right, so I transferred over to film at Temple University. I became double major in film and acting.
Wow.
Juliet's leaving. Goodbye, Juliet.
Bye.
But I never looked back. It took me 5 years because I was a double major. I had an older friend who was 10 years older than me that would take the same classes as me. So I would do projects for grade and then do whatever the hell I wanted with his project. He just wanted to pass. Didn't care what he got. So I did twice as much work as everybody else did, even throughout film school. So I broke the curve in freshman year. There was like 400 of us, and it was the midterm and the final were on big curves. And I picked them both, and they had to not include me into it because everyone would have failed. Right. It was just because I loved the movies, and I always had a camera in my hand as a kid. I didn't know I was training. I didn't know I was seeing things. All the reading that I did, I would read books on acting and stuff like that just because I thought it was interesting stuff. I didn't know I was actually getting an education. I started taking classes all up and down the East Coast. I mean, everywhere that I could. I took TV classes, and I never felt like I was meant for stage until Playhouse West Philadelphia and Tony Saban. Tony Saban turned all that around for me. I could do anything now. He's a peacemaker, that guy.
Yeah.
But I knew that all these places that they were teaching me the wrong things because I would watch the greats and I understood the greats and I saw the greats with them. I was like, there's no way they could be doing this. And I started figuring out little things on my own before I met Tony in Playhouse West. I got introduced to their school because I had no clue who they were when I first met them.
Right.
But I figured things out and kind of put it in terms of being physically fit. I kind of learned push-ups and pull-ups and crunches and squats, basic stuff. It made me very strong. Doing film moments, and I didn't have the language or the communication skills to be like, "Ooh, that was a real take," or "That I was being truthful there. I was listening to this." I just be like, "Ooh, that's the good one. That's the one that reminds me of someone else, and that looked like real acting to me." So I slowly got better in that capacity. But once I met Tony, and he was like, "Look," and I was Tony's producer. We got linked up, and
right. Yes.
Not knowing who his body of students were or what the school and how prestigious it was.
Yeah.
And he learned that I wanted to become an actor, and he said, "Hey, come to my school." He said, "Keep an open mind and work as hard as you did for a producer like me." And he's like, "And I'll teach you how to act." I've been here 5 years now, and it's been amazing. I just broke 900 classes the other day, or a week ago, 2 weeks ago.
Jeez.
Oh, man.
I've taken and I've journaled every single class, so I have everything. Because one of the things that I want to do, and one of my whys, is because of the children still.
Yeah.
Now I have the children that aren't going to have a good life like I did, and they're going to be watching and turning to movies. I want to be the one that inspires them and stand up there and say, "Holy man, I can be like, look, if I can do it, you can do it."
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Work. You know what I mean? I'm telling you, I had nothing. I came from nothing. It's okay. It'll actually come like a superpower, and you'll get things in ways and easier than others who didn't have such a difficult life. Don't let it, because it's tough now. Don't let it beat you down and give up on
it. Yeah.
That's why I work so hard and I do all these things, and why I document it, because I want to show them, look, this is how. Look at but I'm stealing from other people. Kobe Bryant. I'm really Mamba mentality, stuff like that.
Yeah, rest in peace.
People, Jim Parrick, who was Dave's teacher, who was a former teacher, a student of my teacher. Very, very inspirational guy. Good friend of mine. Was doing much bigger things. Scott Hayes is another guy that came out. Became friends with me because of the school. Has helped me in so many ways. When I get to a level where I don't know what's going on, I got people that I could actually go, "So hey, when you were here, did you experience this?"
Mm-hmm.
Did you go through this? Was it this tough for you? You know, yeah, it was. Well, what did you do to overcome this? Or how did you solve this problem? Well, I went through this and that and this and that. Maybe you should read this. Maybe you should read that. And I'm like, oh yeah, give me all the information I can.
Yeah.
And then I regurgitate it out to whoever's coming up in this. I take in, man, I don't know how many people in the 1,200 days that we've had have come through this house.
A lot of faces, man. A lot of faces.
So it's like, you know, and it's like, hopefully someone from that does it back later, gives it back, and they see, oh, hey, I learned because I learned from the advanced kids that came before me, and they taught me how to work like this.
Yeah.
And then I just kind of expanded on it a little bit. And I always challenge people. I'm like, yeah, if you think you're better than me, go ahead, do it. Please, yes, that would be awesome to see. Actually, go ahead. If you think you get to do it. It'll be the best decision you ever made. Because even if you fall short, you're going to outwork so many other people, and you're going to go get so much further in life. And you know, so that's why I kind of keep on with it. And I've been very blessed and lucky to have worked on a couple of really big projects at this point. And you know, I kind of got like a very weird fan base of like Midwestern tweeners that are fans of like this band that I was in music video. So like,
whoa, oh wow.
One of the kids like reached out to me and said he was thinking about committing suicide into one of the posts that I made.
Oh
man, I still talk, and that's been 2 years now. I talk to this kid all the time still, and I'm like, thank you, like wow. And it was one of my workout posts, and it was just like if you weren't talking about these things and you weren't saying this, like I would have felt so alone, and I was thinking about killing myself.
Right.
And I'm like, right. And once you start experiencing that type of power of the content you could create in cinema and how much you could help people, like it's like your obligation as an artist to do something about it. Like they made a movie based off of in like direct response to Rose Garden, which is my favorite short film of all time still. I love that movie.
Come on.
I do. I rave about it. I tell everyone to watch. I'm like, it's on Amazon. Go watch it. It is Soul, nice. Which I produced with Tony, which brought me to the school.
Yeah.
He went out to the Rose Garden, but I saw the Rose Garden and it touched me, and I went out and made my last
let me talk about that for a second. Let me talk about that for a second. That I think that's where we kind of intersect, me and you. Oh, their video is damn, I don't know why that's happening. I went to the Philly Fest because I was in school still. It was my first year of school. You know, and we were taught early on that you have to be able to it's a lab. It's Playhouse West Brooklyn lab. So you have to be constantly working at creating your own thing as well as training, right? And that's like a point in this training. We want you to make your own things and you know, be able to put your name on them and put our name on them. And you know, I went there with that in mind. I went to that Philly Playhouse West in mind that year, and it was sick, man. It was like at an incredible venue, and I saw Red, which you produced, and Vanjie was in it, and Jim was in it, and Luke Eddy was in it, and Tony was in it, and Tony wrote it, and I was blown away, man. And I remember being, you know, afterward being able to like meet you guys and talk to you guys and pick your brains a little bit, and I was so motivated, man. Like I say this all the time, but I drove home and I got a speeding ticket driving home that night because I was just like, fuck this. Like I have a story I'm dying to tell. And that was the Rose Garden. Wow. And I just threw a screenplay that night. I just finished a draft of a screenplay and I tinkered with it, you know, for a while. And then we went out and shot it. And then the next year brought that to Philly. And that was like my dream, man. Like that's as far as I could see. That's like the thing that I wanted more than anything was like to be, I was motivated by your story to us. And so like, I was like, I gotta really dig and get personal and pose like a giant question I have about life to you guys through story and see if it motivates like you and or moves you in some kind of way, like you guys did for me. So that's how it came about. But afterward, I remember I had like my first like real conversation with you at a bar after that night. And we just had this like super like, I think we were like this far away from each other, like fucking talking about how we both influenced each other through story. And it's just cool that it had like story can have that impact if it's handled in such a way. Like, you know, if it's handled in a way that of truth, of honesty, of integrity. When you collaborate, if it's for the right reasons, if it's for to reach people and to move people and to give them some kind of feeling of being less alone, I think that's the intent. And that's, I think, what the training taught me in my acting and in my writing. And I'm learning that more on my own. But that was the cool thing about how we intersected. Like, I always think back on that, and I'm like, this story branched off to this story, which I don't know if that ricocheted into a new thing you did after that, and it's like this healthy, we raise the water, right? And then you gotta come up and we gotta keep raising the tide.
Yeah, and my short film, it's in the link in my bio on my Instagram, but My Last Week Home, that film, because after I saw The Rose Garden was so deep personal to you, and the emotions that you guys had were so truthful. Plus, I've been in a situation similar to that in my life, and I understood the longing and the regret, and like, that's what we were talking so much about.
Yeah.
And I was so scared of putting myself out there in that capacity still.
Yeah.
I really was. I was still making all my goofy comedies and working for Funny or Die, and I didn't put out personal stuff. I was always making myself look like an idiot or a jackass, or I'm naked in half my things all the time. And I'm always looking so silly. But this was one where I was like, I'm going to take something that, again, just the way Dave had the courage and strength to go out there and say something. I'm going to do it. And I wanted to do it, and I had to do it.
Yeah.
And it became, again, an obsession with me. And I literally, we made this, the whole project, writing it to filming it in under a month during quarantine, after the vote. Yeah, but it was just like, once the time opened up, I was just like, boom, 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 boom. And I was just obsessed with it.
Yeah.
And it's my favorite thing of my own that I've ever made. And I got very blessed to be on a lot of different projects over the years. So it's like, I couldn't have done that without you. But hey, Tony did it first with Red.
That's right.
I just got lucky to produce Red.
Right.
Right. Ed Ariston, I owe it all to him. He helped that out. But yeah, man, it is. It's cool to know that, like, oh man, like I did. And when people see it, like people that don't know us see it, and they come up to you and they're like, "Yo, I love that, man. That was so good. I can't believe you went there. You can't in the acting, blah, blah, blah." When you hear those things, you're like, "Yeah, I did my job."
Yeah.
You're like, now what can I make? What's next? Like you said, like, okay, how do I top that now?
Yeah, man. It's like it's healthy. I think it's very healthy if it's handled that way. If the intentions are pure, I think it's a very healthy thing. But that's what school was for me. That's what Playhouse was like. It was like there was healthy competition throughout it. It was just like, oh wow, look at JR really, really connecting in the moment. Or look at Adam handling this Clifford Odette scene like he's fucking Marlon Brando right now, but beautiful and young. Like it was amazing the shit I saw in that room. You know what I mean? Or wherever we were, and I look back on those times as they shaped my future. Like I don't know how I ended up there. I can't say, but I can tell you, like, I've never been good at anything like that in my life. Like nothing has come to me that I've worked at like acting has, or storytelling period, in my life. So I needed a place like that, man, and those people, and Jim and Andrea. And I'm so grateful to Tony, dude. Every time I see Tony, I'm just like, man, I would kiss your shoe right now, dude, if you asked me to. Like you've done something to pass it down to us in this crazy way. Like you had a hand in that. So I'm just, I don't know, just super grateful, man.
And Tony is literally, we were just talking about that in class. He was like, we have a very special class. We have a very, very talented class right now, a very dedicated, hardworking students. And Tony said, he's like, this doesn't come around all the time.
No.
With this magical, no one seems like they're going to be leaving anytime soon. He said, work off each other, use that healthy competition, see what they're doing, just like you said, and then come in and be like, oh yeah, well, how about this? And be like, ooh, you, okay, I'm going to go do this now and see what we can do. And it has been super beneficial in so many ways. And it is when you have that, we are a big family. Not everyone gets along perfectly or likes each other. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean you have to go out and hang out with everyone's family on the weekends, but when you're there, it's really cool to see someone who is struggling or has been like, I can't get this, and then finally get it. And you're like, oh, dude, good too. They're like, that's awesome. I love watching the new guys start like Spoon River work and stuff like that. And they're like, and then I'm like, don't worry, we all feel that way. You get through it, and then like as you see them getting it, you're like, yes.
Yeah, man.
But yeah, it's a magical place in that capacity. I've never seen anything like it, and to be taken so seriously by the industry as well as having the opportunities. I mean, we now have. I don't know if you got to see our new 18-foot drop down screen for the theater.
No, man. Wait a second, Shaun. What's going on here?
So we got our own now. We got the 4K projector and everything.
Come on, so like, we're not
building the screen like we used to and nailing it into the wall.
Come
like, we just get them there. It just comes right out the ceiling. It's awesome.
Well, y'all built the theater, right? Like you guys banded together and built it. Yeah. Yes.
Oh my God.
They built the theater.
Yeah. So Tony, we had two of our students, Peter and Mateus.
Shout out.
They were kind of the masterminds, and I was just their laborer for the most part. But they really did like 85% of it. And then like the day that the lumber arrived, like and I know Matt Brent was watching earlier. He was there. He helped me load it. Brent. Like there was a lot of people that were there just to do that and and go through it. So it's like when you have that type of tenacity and team around you, like it's so much accomplished. I mean, when we first moved in there, it was just this giant open space. Now we got stadium seating. We have this sound and light booth. We got lighting all across the ceiling. We got it's so hooked up now. It's like, and it's constantly ever evolving and growing.
Dude, it blew my mind when I went to watch Welcome Home Soldier. I think it was the first time I was there, and I came in I think it was like a snowstorm. And I was like 2 minutes late, but you guys were gracious enough to keep the doors open, dude. And I remember walking in there and I was like, man, I can't believe that you guys just built this this year. Like it was crazy. It was nuts. I never seen nothing like it before. That was built by hand like that, from the passion of like the students that are going there, like provided a space. They made it.
That was just like you guys, because you just wanted to show your stuff. Like that was the reason.
Yeah. Well, so we were renting spaces from other people, and they kind of started giving us a hard time because we would do better than they would, and we were selling them out. So they stopped renting space to outside of their production company.
Oh, they were mad about that.
They were salty.
Right.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, they were like, no more of these Playhouse West people. So it's like, okay, well, if we can't rent from anyone, we'll just make our own. And it's like, then who can tell us when we can't do it? You know what I mean? And it's just the train on a stage every single day in class is amazing too, because you're constantly getting so much time, and your fellow students are your audience members, but by the time you do get to real audiences, and hopefully that'll happen again more readily now that the pandemic's starting to dwindle a little bit, but it's a huge part of your training. I was always told through all these other schools and stuff that stick to film, kid. You're meant for film. You're meant for film. You don't have it for the stage. Now, I put me on whatever. I know how to adjust now. I know how to use my vocal expressiveness and my voice. Like right now, I don't have to talk. I'm only talking to you guys. But if I'm talking to the back of the room, it's just a simple adjustment in my volume. It's nothing difficult. It's really easy, and you learn to get over those little fears. You're like, oh my God, what happens if I don't get a line right? Oh man, you've done this so many times. You just get into a mode of it, and you just go out there with such confidence that your performance is whatever you're doing. You're just so solid that, without that, it's really tough to train. I don't know how other schools do it without a studio like this.
Wow. Yeah. What would you say, Shaun, in your 5 years of training at Playhouse? Not to give out any free training, but I'm just saying something that, for people who might be thinking about if they're in the Philly area, they're like, man, I really want to act, and this school seems great, and I'm on the fence about it. What would be one thing that you've learned, one part of the technique that has changed your ability to act?
I'll start with the very first step, listening. And because I can listen on camera and really listen and be engaged with the person like how we are right now, that I could, and you could beat 80% of the actors out there already just by learning to hone that one little simple skill. And it's not nearly enough to make a career off that, in my opinion. But it already sets you apart. And if you could just get that down in the first month, you're already going to beat anyone else. And then if you stay with it and you get because Tony in the school gives you you got like a bat belt. He's giving you all these little tools and gadgets, and you can pull things out from left and right, and you're like, oh, I got that in my back pocket. Or I got this, and boom, boom, boom. Oh, that's perfect for this scenario right here. Those things are all fine and dandy, but if you're not listening, you can't use any of them.
Right.
Yeah. So I would just say, like, that's worth the first 2 months of the mission alone.
I agree, man. I think listening is. I mean, that's one of the first thing. That is the first thing you kind of learn is you're all you're meant to do is you do a simple repetition and you just listen.
Yeah.
You're saying exactly what the other person says, how they say it, and then you sit down and you're like, "Hey, dog. Hey, Jim. I didn't pay you to fucking teach me how to just say someone has. I have fucking blue hat on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I didn't. That's not." And it takes so much patience, dude.
Yeah.
So much patience and just fucking.
Yeah, and at first when you like I'm into like behind the scenes like cinematography and like editing and that stuff. And like in the beginning, like before I really like met you and like kind of understood more about like actors and stuff, it was really hard to really like when you were talking about like all the techniques and stuff, and like I started actually seeing you guys like say what it does for you and like actually going through them, it really like opens your eyes to what acting actually is. You know, the living truthfully. What it could be. And like that living truthfully, and like how, you're not like you're in the moment and you're not thinking about, all the shit around you.
Yeah.
Like you're in the person in front of you, that's what you're listening, and that's your whole thing.
Yeah.
That's the whole world.
Yeah.
Then just like, I don't know. It's
you didn't
really,
think about it before.
Yeah, you never did.
Yeah. It's a different, I didn't think about it either, to be honest.
I love like how that, and also I really love this podcast. I had experience over the weekend at my cafe job.
Let's talk about it.
I work with one of the, shout out Xander.
Shout out Xander, dude.
You started listening, and he told me he listens and stuff.
Oh, he does?
So shout out to him, man.
But no love, but no text, no nothing?
He's a busy guy. He's a busy guy.
All right.
But,
okay.
And he's like, he's still in like high school and stuff.
Yeah, I don't care though. I want some love,
Let me
dude.
just tell the story, right? You talked enough.
I'm sorry,
You talked enough.
You want me to leave?
But he told me he started talking about like movies and stuff, and how he was like, it takes a lot to, he just said, it takes a lot to like make a movie. Like it really takes like a lot of different things.
Yeah. And
I was like showing him my camera stuff because I brought it in because I was taking pictures and stuff. And he was like, yeah, like, it's just, and especially with like acting and stuff, he's like, it's like not a lot of people know about what goes into it or what goes into making a movie. He's like, there's so much fucking money, so many people. He's like, I never knew about it. And he's like, from the podcast, he like learned about a lot of this stuff.
Xander, you're an actor, dude.
Dude, he could be.
He could be. I see it in you.
I just love that the like filmmaking and acting, it can all like reach out.
Yeah, it can.
It could branch out. Like with Shaun Paul's story, with like he wants to do things to help kids and stuff. And see like that.
Shaun, because I think what you're saying, what I'm getting from your story is, and what we've talked about in the past is like I can relate because I was that dude at the end of my like bed, and I was just like putting in the same tape, just watching it again. And then watching it, in a DVD, I'd watch it over and over and over. And I needed to be like taken away, man, because I didn't like the circumstances I was in at all. So I relate to you a lot when we talk about those kind of things, those personal things. But for story, like I think not a lot of people know how in love they are with story, or how much story has impacted their life until like us, or maybe even older. Or they never realize like what story has done for them, or that story even existed in their life. But I think it's essential, man. Like the more we do this podcast, the more I realize like I've been tending to talk about this more and more. The importance of storytelling, any form of it. If you're one cog of it, being acting or writing or producing or whatever. I mean, it takes a lot of people to tell a story. But for you, man, like what if you could remember, early on, what was the story that did it, like that would take you away? Like if you have an early memory, like one of your earliest memories of story, like, do you remember one of those?
Yeah. I mean, there's a couple movies that really spoke to me. My dad was a big Rocky fan. Okay, so obviously being from Philadelphia, I mean, I know that's so cliche to be like, "Oh, Rocky really impacted me." He really has though, because and it's more so the story behind Rocky. Even though I watched it all the time with my dad as a kid, there's the story of how he got it made and like selling his dog, and
he sold his dog.
And all the crazy stuff with that. So that was one of those movies that really did. But if I'm going to be honest and truthful, the movie that I really became obsessed with,
keep it real,
10 Things I Hate About You.
Hey, there we go. Okay.
Heath Ledger and Julia Stiles, because I had this girl break up with me, and she like crushed my little heart, and when it first came out, and it was the first time that the story really like impacted me to the point where like even the music I would download and like make it my ringtone and stuff like that, like right. Yep. And I was just like every little thing, and then I also I was so astonished because I love that movie. And again, VHS. I would watch it 5-6 times a day. I would be watching it. I loved when they got together at the end. And that's where I realized like I'm like this hopeless romantic, and I love the happy endings. You know what I mean? I love the kiss, and then it goes off, and everybody's like kind of all okay. And that was a movie. It made me feel good, and because it was like I always chased after love, and I craved the love. I mean, how many stories I already mentioned that a woman had to be something involved in?
Yeah.
Right. And so it's like the love of a woman has been a huge thing. And, I listen to people that have been successful before me. Frank P. Sinatra, he says, the best revenge is massive success. A woman broke his heart, and that's why he became Frank Sinatra.
This is interesting, dude.
Will Smith has a very similar story as well. He had his heart broken, so that's when he went off and said, I'm going to go do it like this.
So Shaun, Shaun, you would say a big part of your passion and your desire to succeed through storytelling, like where it's brought you to today. You're telling me like a big part of that is that younger dude in the past who was like betrayed by his lover, or who he thought he loved, and so story was like your way of saying, I'm gonna make it so good, I'm gonna blow up. And then you're going to look at me and you're going to say, damn it. Like I had the perfect guy and I blew it. And look at him. He's up there on the screen.
In the beginning, because, when you're young and dumb, your ego really plays into it. In the beginning, it was all out of like, I'll show these girls. I'm going to get huge. Now it's 20 years later, and it's like, I haven't thought about any of them anymore. In my capacity, it's like, the only reason I would ever want fame and notoriety in any capacity is because I know it could open up doors and tape that I can't right now. Especially with children. Scott Hayes is a huge influence with the Mully Foundation, his documentary Mully. My favorite documentary of all time. It's on Amazon as well if you haven't seen it.
All right.
I highly suggest it, Mully.
There we go.
Cool.
But it's also about helping, this whole story about helping children in South Africa and what this amazing foundation has done and how it struggled and how it changed, like even desert in the green fertile soil. Like it's just amazing what this has done. And I'm like, if this guy could do it over there in South Africa, why can't I do something like that over here?
Right.
I might not, again, if I'm going to chase after someone who's did it much larger than me, I might fall short of him and what he's done. But I'll still get so much further than most people will in that capacity if I'm chasing someone like him.
Gotcha.
So Mully's like an indirect mentor of mine in that capacity, and I studied him a lot and what he did and why he gave up what he gave up and what he did. And like, I steal a lot from the greats, but for me, anyone's successful, man. From like, I'll take motivational speakers all the way to presidents to, other actors, directors, anyone that painted anything, anyone that was successful in their industry. I mean, I'm hugely influenced by people like Eminem, The Rock, Kevin Hart. I love people like that who put out their books. And Hal said this. One of my favorite things that I stole from Kevin Hart is the shoulder shrug. And he goes, if something bad happens to you, shrug it off. Something good happens to you, shrug it off. Yeah. Keep working, and you shrug it like, hey, you take the time to celebrate the win or to learn from the loss, then you shrug it off and move forward because you're going to have to learn something else. So the faster you could do that and not let it hinder you and be an anchor and be like, oh my God, we didn't get the money again. The movie's not going to get made. I mean, there's a couple of movies that I've been working on that been working on for over a decade now that, aren't
Wow.
finished in some capacity, aren't out there for the public, or it took me 10 years to get them produced. Like, I could have easily, time and time again, after I lost the $300,000, after I got let go, after I did this, after I did that, just said, I can't do this. It's too tough.
Right.
But there's always going to be another opportunity. There's going to be another opportunity to fail. And that's why I like the whole fail forward, which Will Smith's big on too. Fail forward, fail often, fail quickly, but like Kevin Hart said, shrug it off, keep moving, keep going, and you'll learn more. And that's why, like, even today, like, half of my work comes from paid clients. The other half of my work comes from students at our school, which I'll never take a drink from any of them. And I try to produce as many of their projects a year as I can. Because even when I'm working for free, it's an investment in myself and other people. Because it's cool to be cool when I need them for something to be like, hey, let me call on that favor. But at the same time, you're teaching them in a way that they're then going to go out and teach other and be comfortable, and it's only going to help spread their career. And what happens if it is like someone like Luke Eddy that goes up and becomes the next Al Pacino? Right. Okay, he goes back and goes, yeah, but I know this kid that could work, and I could help him out, boom, 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 because you were there and you were giving to them, and they'll get back to you. Right. And for me, and it's kind of funny because the more I try to give, it feels like the more I get back. Mm-hmm. So it's like I'm just trying to give, and I just getting things in. Like, I mean, even the call before this, I literally had a third investor this week just call me up out of the blue, be like, "You looking for money?" I'm like, actually, yes. When is that ever a no answer?
Whoa.
Yeah, and it's like, I feel like I get those opportunities because I do try to give back as much as I can.
Right.
And you do, the bigger you perceivably get, because there's who the hell's big in this room, you know what I mean? No one, the perception of it, you do come into turmoil, you do butt heads with people, egos get involved, people get jealous, people project their stuff, things happen too, that it's like, okay, but you could also learn from those things, don't just shy away from that stuff too. Like for me, I don't necessarily have to think that we need to like each other at all to work together as actors. Right. I actually think if we don't like each other, we should find something where we don't like each other. Homework's done.
Easy.
Yeah. Right. It's easy because I go in there, you don't like me, I don't like you. Let's hate on each other for a little bit, and then we get noticed for it, and people tell us how good we did.
I got you. You know what, Shaun, dude? I haven't thought about that, man. I figured out in my training, I was doing the same thing where like it was like it's easy to work with someone. Not that I knew people I didn't like, but like if you didn't get along with somebody as well as you did other people in this big group of people, and you could plug into like this is a scene where you slept with my girl and I get to confront you. It's super easy to be like, yeah, fuck you, But I was thinking about it a lot, dude. And I would journal about it a lot while we were working. And the thing like I figured out for myself that works best for me, and I'm just speaking for myself, is damn, like I sure hate when somebody betrays me, But the essence of betrayal is like someone I loved has done something wrong to me, towards me. Yeah. And so I started thinking about that a lot, and I was like, you know what? If I really start working off this person and learn more about them and take them in more and a little bit deeper and let them in a little bit more, and if I start to kind of fall in love and like I trusted them, I really did as Dave, like I really let them in. And then in the scene they're doing, my doing is confronting them on this thing I built that they betrayed me. It would just elevate it for me, The sense of like it would suck if some stranger was like, oh, by the way, I just robbed your house. If Mikey was like, oh, by the way, I just robbed your house, it would drive me fucking nuts.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It'd be so much more devastating.
Yeah. I don't know. That was just something I was thinking about when you brought that up.
Well, you're learning to make it more personal for yourself and how to utilize you. But that's what, a major part of this class is learning you. It's not so much a class on acting. It's a class on you as a person, what affects you. And that's something that's going to change throughout time.
Definitely.
The things that affect me when I started in acting school no longer work for me. I now have to, but I have more things now, and I could get to them and access them quicker because I have practice doing it. In the beginning, like I was really easy for me to get angry. You and I talked about our anger issues.
Yeah.
Yeah. I come from a big Irish Italian, mixed family, and there's a lot of hand gestures and loud voices, and it's very quick to get angry, especially at family members. It's simple.
Yeah.
So I would find scenes like that because I felt comfortable in those scenes.
Right.
But after a while, you start going, man, what else can I do?
Yes.
What else?
Yes.
What else affects me? And then it's like, okay, so what gets my heartstrings? What breaks my heart? Well, me, it's unrequited love. If you don't love me back, and it's like it's abandonment. Oh yeah, that's where most of my pain and suffering comes from.
Yeah.
So that's why I've noticed the theme of my stories are all like this about this guy who desperately wants to be loved.
Right.
Which is why at the beginning, that spite thing, and when I first started, my ego was like, so I could they'll all love me once I'm rich and famous. Now I know it's so far from the truth. It's not even funny. Life is probably going to be even harder if that were to ever happen. But those are the things you find out about yourself along the way. Like you said, it's individual. I don't know what'll work for you that'll work for me. And that's the beautiful thing about this technique. Absolutely. It allows us to adapt it and mold things. And you will create exercises and things for yourself with it because it'll fit this thing, but you now have the tools and confidence to be able to put those together from everything else with it.
Yeah. Man.
I love the positive message you have, man. Like, and I feel like this is something I want to ask you is like, you also, like your work ethic, like you were saying, you're doing the rehearsals every 7 days a week.
Come on, dude.
And all this stuff. It's like, where did that start or where did it come from? Like, and like, I don't know, how did that evolve?
Were you just always like that, bro?
Yeah.
Just always hustle? Always?
This I have to credit to my father and my grandfather. They were always hard workers. They always had big families. I'm the oldest of five. So my dad I'm 38 years old now. My dad would have had all five of us at my age already. I'm having trouble with a puppy. Let alone having 5 kids. I'm like, are you kidding me? I would have lost it, Dad. I don't know how the hell you did it. So in that aspect, he just always worked, man. And he would work overtime, he would work holidays, he just worked. He worked and he worked. And by 14 years old I had my first job.
Uh-huh.
That didn't mean I wasn't working around the house because guess what? Being the oldest of 5, I cooked, I cleaned, I ironed, I sewed. And I'm in grade school and I'm doing all this stuff. Most kids aren't doing that stuff back then.
Absolutely.
I was changing diapers. So, then it was just like, boom. And then I was a hockey player, so I had an insatiable lust for hockey. Mm-hmm. I would rollerblade 4 miles in each direction to and from my school, racing the 56 bus up towards Ohio. Rain, snow, shine. Now, I did that because no one was driving me and I didn't have bus money, so I had no options.
Yeah.
But the kids that made fun of me because I was doing it, I said, yeah, watch me beat the bus every day.
Yeah.
That's using spite to help me get better.
Right.
It was like a thing under me, but I didn't know I was developing.
Yeah.
So when I started working, man, I had this mentality. Everyone bitched and moaned at any job that I ever had. Everyone, and man, they always make life miserable. I hated it. So I would just be like, dude, we got to do it anyway. Why just have a good time while we're doing it? And I always try to cultivate that type of relationship with the people I'm working with, whether it's on set, the restaurant industry, bartending. I always try to have a good time while doing things and doing that. So me, to put myself and my siblings, I paid tuition for them and stuff like that when my parents were divorcing. I was working 60 to 80 hours a week, and that's why I was raising the money down in the Wildwood, New Jersey. So I would work all summer and then live off that money all winter.
Right.
And I put in as many hours as I could because I knew I would have to go back to school and I couldn't work with everything else that I had going on.
Yeah.
So it just was instilled in me. Then, like I said, when I got to college, I was working twice as much as everybody else. So I just kept building on it. I never said no to anybody's project. If I could be available, I was there. Yeah. What do you need me to do? PA, grip? I want to learn it all. I'm a little sponge. I'm like, give me the information. Yeah. I feel like I'm feeling sometimes. I'm like, but I just wanted to see all this stuff. And that's how I became a producer accidentally, because I said yes to all these projects as an actor or as a grip or whatever I was doing. As other projects, as I was getting more experience, would go, man, we need somebody who can do this. I was like, oh, I know a guy. I know somebody. Yeah. Oh, I know. Yeah. And then someone was like, you're producing. I'm like, really? Yeah, that's easy. It's just knowing a bunch of people and how to solve a problem, putting out fires. I grew up in a neighborhood where we got harassed by the cops growing up as kids. When we get harassed by cops on film sets, I handle it. I'll go right to the cops. I know right how to talk to them. so used to it. I'm not intimidated in any capacity. Where everyone else is like, oh no, the cops are here. I'm like, we didn't do anything wrong. Don't worry. I'm like, no one's getting in trouble. We're fine. Okay, we're good. So it built on that. And then as I started studying other successful people ahead of me, I saw that they were already doing the same thing. It didn't make, at first I just thought I outworked people. And again, it was my ego. In the restaurant, I wanted to be the top sales. You know, at the arcade game, down in Wildwood at the virtual reality game, I wanted to be the headliner. After a while, I was like, I fought for it for 3 summers. I didn't want to let anyone come in there and take my position. So I always was trying to be, like you said, trying to be the best at something.
Right.
But I wasn't like the way I was at hockey. I just wasn't until I started taking this seriously. And like, man, it was like ice skating again. It's like, man, I just see it. I know where the puck's going to go. Now, I'm not anticipating, and I know to go there. I could feel him getting ready to backhand it over this stick, and I want to intercept that, and I can already like feel. Well, that's so transferable to acting.
Yeah.
Because we're really working off each other's energies and feel it. So if I could start feeling you as, and one of our philosophies is you should already be behaving it before you're saying it.
Oh yeah.
So if you're already behaving and know how you feel about it, it just comes out of you so naturally.
Man.
Just like a shot does. Right. Like with my wrist shots, I never even have to look at the net because the net didn't move. And that's always going to be there.
Yeah.
So if I could shoom and I could have such a smooth shot and move when my body, I didn't have to crank my head like most people did because I trusted my instincts.
Yeah.
Learning to do that on the ice. Once I figured out, oh God, it's the same thing in acting. It just opened more doors.
Isn't that
and
cool?
Tony keeps going, that's good. Now here's more. Here's more.
Yeah.
More.
And that's the best part. I think the cool thing is, man, like when you start the process of just studying at our school, or we were at different schools, but same deal, Playhouse West. It's like everyone comes from different walks of life, and if you're open to the technique, you will become better at some things than others will off the rip, right? Like you have all this life experience in one capacity of like, you know, the instincts of it. And I always felt like that too. I felt like kind of like a caveman where I was able to really quickly get the importance of behavior and really taking in the person in front of you, you know, really listening, really watching, really taking them in, and being open to that, right? For some reason, it just gelled very easily with me. And I think it's still one of my strengths to this day. But like, you know, some people struggle with that, but some people are much more savvy when it comes to character work or when it comes to script analysis, or, you know, some people that was really exciting for me to watch. Is like some of us will excel at certain capacities with acting, and some of us will excel at other capacities, and then we'll learn from each other and watch each other do them, and it's just cool, man. Like that we're all different and we all take things a bit differently.
It'll also start balancing out. There's an amazing book that was written by Carol S. Dweck called Mindset. And the mindset is basically saying that everyone's born a blank slate. Everything has to be learned. There's inherently no skill that you're just born with. Okay, we all have to learn to hold up our head. Now, if you started acting and you were more an emotional person in the beginning, it might seem like, oh, he was born with it. He has natural talent. But no, it really is what you're saying. It's your life built up that allowed you to do that. But you can train, and that's another reason why you work so hard. Like Kobe Bryant and the mindset says, you train because then you build those weak spots and those strong spots, and they wind up balancing out, and then you become a beast at other things. Like it's taken 20 years to really start to understand writing now. Acting, but the acting has only gotten better from me understanding writing and putting the work in on the writing. Because now as an actor, I know what story I'm telling, and I can pick up the clues faster because you were talking script analysis. I can go through and go, oh, this is what the story is really about. This is my spine. This is the premise of and the theme of this movie. This is the story we're trying to tell. And then it takes less work for the director or the producer to have to tell me and explain it to me. Because I'm like, oh, no, I see what you're saying. And then the director's job becomes actually much easier for him because he only tweaks you and you're just a little bit off.
Right. Yep. Right.
And he just and if you have a director to trust you and let you play, man, it's a magical thing.
It is beautiful.
But so Mindset was one of those books that really kind of had nothing to do with acting, though, that really influenced my acting and my filmmaking. Right. Because it's like, wow, okay, I can get better as a writer. Because I always just thought, I'm this type of writer. I'm always going to be like this. And now I don't believe that in any capacity. I'm a constant student who's going to learn, keep studying, keep pushing. I write every day now. Like I said, I got a writing session right after this.
Hey,
That I'll probably be writing 3-4 hours. Yeah.
Come on, man. He don't sleep. Shaun Paul don't sleep, man.
I wanted to ask, because Shaun Paul's human too. Shaun Paul,
I don't know, dog. I don't know.
So when you have like a bad day or a bad, like, a roadblock or something like that, where, let's say nothing goes right for like, a bunch of opportunities shut down or don't work. Like, how do you deal with that? How do you deal with like negativity? Because I feel like your thing is just positive, go, and like kill it. And I love that. But when you have those moments of like, the negative things start coming on, how do you deal with that?
Well, two or three different ways. One, I meditate and remind myself that this too shall pass. Two, I remind myself that whatever I'm feeling right now, this is going to be good to use it somewhere else. Like, I'm like, oh God, I hate that person, or I want to do this. I want to punch that person in the face. I'm going to write that down. I'm going to put that in acting. I'm going to use it in an exercise coming up. I get to take, and this industry is the one industry that you really can take all those things. You got to pay a time with a bank teller, write a scene about it, and then you get to flip the bank teller off. Yeah. It's like, you can't do that. If you're a bank teller, you can't go home and treat your spouse that way, because you'll get divorced. So for me, and then the other thing that sometimes you just got to let yourself cry. You got to let yourself be angry. You got to remind yourself you're human. You take 5 minutes and go for a run. Go hit the heavy bag. And if you do make a mistake, apologize. That's a big one. I tend to, especially a couple of people that I'm really close with, really bad days, they could, get you a little more riled up than others. And, you say or do something wrong, immediately when you realize you have, or you hurt them, or apologize. I'm sorry, I did do it, and then try to be as transparent as possible to what made you get that way. And then hopefully, if you're feeling triggered in that capacity again, you could then pump the brakes on it and say, okay, this is like last time. And remember what happened last time, Shaun? Don't do that. Don't do that. Because that was not fun. We did not like the outcome of that. So let's try something else. And then, the outcome might not work out. Look, I had a person get up in my face, and I was so threatened and vulnerable with what they were talking about that I punched the wall thinking that they would back off, and I lost my cool. And I wound up breaking my hand. Right. And it's like, I hadn't lost my cool and I don't know how long, but even one time, and you go, okay, well, punching the wall is a bad idea all the time. Yeah. You should never punch the wall, Shaun. Stop punching.
Stop punching.
Learn already. Learn. But it took me breaking my hand to really learn. And it's like, since then, I have not hit anything in anger. And then my last thing, if all else fails, I turn. I've kind of been a fan of AA and Al-Anon and acceptance. Acceptance is a big thing, and if you can accept it, and this is teaching something. Because like I said, as artists and actors, if I learn and accept it, I know that I could use it somewhere down the line, even if I can't see the silver lining yet. Yeah, I'm learning something. I don't know why, but I am. I'm just going to accept the lesson that I'm learning, and hopefully it becomes clearer somewhere down the road.
Bang.
Yeah, man.
I got one more question for you, and then I have other questions from. We did a live before this, and we got a few questions for you from that live. My question is, dude, it's hard to boil this down, but I'm a real big fan of boiling things down to like a central. Mikey knows, and he laughs at me all the time. Like a central, like human thread, like an essence, like something that you, for just Shaun, is like important. You know what I mean? And I want to look at acting because this is something that is important to you. And you've been up there, 900 classes, you've done 12,000, 1,200 rehearsals, and you've done it so often, so much, and the years before. When you're up there, and you have lines flowing through you from something that you've learned before, and these moments are coming out of you because you've experienced these things that you've worked on, and you made them personal, and it's coming out of the person in front of you. What is it for Shaun, for you, man? Why do you love acting? Like, what moments of it? Would it be the taking in of a moment with another person? Would it be being able to express express yourself fully, vulnerably, with no regard for whatever, like life sometimes becomes. Like, what is it for you, man? Like, specifically your
Yeah, it's a two-part answer for me.
Okay, we'll take
For
it.
me,
Mikey, will we take it?
We'll take it.
We'll take it. We'll take it.
I'm
just fucking with you. I'm sorry.
it's magical when you get up there with your partner because if you're really working our technique proper, we're not anticipating. So one of the last things I always tell myself before I go out and do anything is just let it be what it is. And it's those magical surprises that you didn't plan, that came from the homework. And when you feel something new for the first time that you didn't anticipate, you don't even know what you're feeling. It's like that magical moment where it's like, and you can have hundreds of people watching you do it, or just the camera in your face, and it doesn't exist. And it's like you get so taken to like another place, like almost nothing else in the world matters.
Yes.
And so just like with me, when I use movies as a kid to escape my life, whatever's going on in my life no longer exists. And that's me, just an amazing thing. And then just the feeling that I get afterwards, man, when you know you really did a good job.
Yeah.
You know, people are like, wow, like you brought up Welcome Home Soldier. Like, I can't tell you how many people were like, Welcome Home Soldier. Wow, like you guys, holy wow. Like, someone that was actually one of my characters in the previous time that Tony had put it on came and watched it. Wow. He literally said, first of all, he was like, all your characters, he's like, the guy that did this last character he was horrible compared to you, he was flat, and he was just like, you really brought this out. He said, but dude, you opened my eyes as an actor because when I played that role, I did it very angrily and like shouting. And he said, you made it so layered, and there was this pain and hurt and this other stuff, and he's like, he's like, I wish I could do it again now after seeing you do it, man. And I was like, wow, dude, that takes a very big person to humble themselves to like be like, wow, you were better than me, man. You were really good.
Yeah.
And so when you get that type of respect, especially from your fellow artists, there's nothing like it in the entire world to me. It's like when someone's just like, man, I can't stand your face, but that was some good work. Yeah, like you made me hate you in that, or you made me you in that. Like, oh my god, like and people tell me like, you're nothing like those characters. I'm like, no, I'm not.
Right. Dude, can I ask you this, bro? Is it like, I don't know how to say this. So just try it.
I guess it makes me feel special. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In a way that nothing does.
I want to talk about that just real quick. I'm sorry, we're running along. I'm sorry, Mike.
No,
I'm sorry, dude.
I'm fine.
He's upset now, dude.
I'm not.
Shaun.
You're putting feelings into. I didn't say anything. It's messed up, man.
But like over the years, man, over doing this thing for a minute, you get people who come up to you after a show, or you were just talking about it, right? And for the most part, I'll speak from my experience because that's all I know. But people are really kind. People will generally be very kind, or they won't say much, right? And I don't know how to take it sometimes, man. I know there's been a few times where I've been like so fucking swept up, man, in these incredibly grateful moments, like where someone's like, whatever just happened really moved me because of this. And I just want to say or something, something along those lines. Or someone was very sick and came to watch the show I did way back when I was terrible. But she was like just open to the story enough to say thank you, and like it took me away from my thing. And I was like, man, it makes me feel like it's important, which is why I want to do this thing, is like to keep people hopeful, make them feel less alone, take them away from whatever they're going through and bring them into our thing and connect to it, and when you really like open up yourself to the work, to really, I'm talking about it, not just you saying it, it's easy to say it, but it's harder to do it and not say it, and have other people come up to you and say like, man, I understood that, and we don't have to talk about it, but I understood like what you guys did there, and it's like a wink, it's like I can't put words to deal with that, man? Like, how do you reciprocate that kind of appreciation? If it's like this legit appreciation, because a lot of people are gonna be like, "Wow, Shaun, that's great, man. I'm working on this thing, man. You want to work on this?" And it's like, yeah, I do. Like, let's talk. But like, it's hard, man. It's a difficult, and it's a silly. It's not a problem. It's not a problem. But it's something I struggle with sometimes. Is like, I've been like, when you talked to me at that bar one time, it touched me. You were very like kind to me. You were very personal. You were very open to me. You know, you didn't make me feel like someone from the city. You know, you were like, no. I want to talk to you personally, and like we connected because of that. And yeah, man, I don't know. How do you take that? How do you take like a lot of people saying, Shaun, you're really great, man. You're really great, dude.
Well, I wouldn't say it's a lot.
Over the years, man, I'm sure it's
no, but no. Well, just saying like Welcome Home Soldier, because Welcome Home Soldier was the most important piece of theater I've ever done. And I've been very blessed to have done a decent amount now.
Yeah.
But Welcome Home Soldier, I never impacted people's lives, and it's all about Vietnam vets and coming home, and you saw it, but like how touched the Vietnam vets were. There's no way to show your appreciation back, because doing that play actually was in some ways even way more beneficial to me, because it opened me up and made me so vulnerable to other people, made me so empathetic. Yeah. And the best thing that I can say is just be sincere and genuine with their praise.
Yeah.
And when they say, you know, I just try to say thank you.
That's what you got to do. You got to. I mean, you are grateful, man. Like, this is a nice thing. These Vietnam vets, bro. I remember seeing them crying, like, after the show, and we all saluted them. Like, the audience, I remember saluting the audience who were Vietnam veterans, and like, or just veterans of any war, you know. And it's just, that play specifically was so beautiful for that, man. But that's a good point, dude. It's a vet.
And that's when that show that we got our final curtain call on the closing night. I must have been inconsolable. I went backstage and like just wept like a baby, like in a fetal position, like for 15, 20 minutes, and like I couldn't even confront and face anyone. I mean, I don't often see my dad cry or my uncle cry. They're very old school neighborhood, you know, guys. They're tough as nails. And, you know, my uncle Mikey is my dad's best friend, so it's not really my uncle, but his Uncle Mikey's brother died in Vietnam. You know, so like he was like, you know, the music, the tears, they grew up for that. Like my dad's never been moved by any of my stuff. My dad always sees me up there doing stuff, and my dad's always like, "Oh yeah, I like it, good job, buddy." Like, you know, he doesn't love acting, and you know, and that's why I do like certain these war movies and these fighter stuff, because I know my dad will like it. I'm like, "Yeah, Dad, here, look, this one's for you, Dad." But those things for me, like I never experienced that before. I didn't know it was so overwhelming, but it wound up making me a more empathetic person. And hopefully, with my performances and Tony's writing for Welcome Home Soldier and Bob Carnegie, with their writing, it could open up other people and start making them heal me more empathetic to things they weren't necessarily good to.
Yeah.
So, you know, and like I mentioned about Kevin Hart, you got to kind of shrug it off at the same time. Like, it feels great to get praise, but don't ever do it for the praise. Don't ever go try to be good. Like, don't go just go out there and live it out, and whatever happens, happens. And if it sucks, it sucks tonight. But you learn why it sucks, because maybe you didn't understand this enough, or maybe this was awkward, whatever. There was Tony told me in the middle of the show, we started talking about the guy who originated my role, and it was Mark Pellegrino originated, and he actually created the character. And he said, he's like, look, it's like watching Brando do Street Fighting Desire. No one is going to outdo Stanley over Brando, because you can't. Once you see it, you can't undo it. And we were at the dinner with a bunch of people, and I didn't want to jeopardize and take up the whole time. So the next day, when I went to the studio early, I was like, so what did he do so different than me? And he gave me some things, and I went home, and I tell you, I worked on it all weekend. The next weekend performance, I had a whole different character, and everyone was like, yo, what happened? Like, and it just changed so much. And I was like, yeah, because I was just missing little things.
Right.
You know, and he, even though my performance wasn't bad originally, I was missing some of the kind of things that Mark already understood his life and what he had that I didn't have, that I lacked. So once Tony gave me that, I just went and studied and put all that work in. And man, did I get more laughs and more feeling and more emotion out of everything. And I basically did like 90% less things than the next time. Because I was like, man, this guy's a serious dude who doesn't move much and tells us what everyone else thinks to be a funny story. I was telling it as a funny story.
Yeah.
It's a story that I'm just telling that it happened.
Yeah.
So people are interrupting me before. I was like kind of playing off them and making little jokes with them. Now I was doing it as if they were pissing me off because they were interrupting me.
Right.
And the that I was people now.
That's called ways of doing right there. Ways of doing.
The whole audience would laugh much more because I was taking so much more personal and serious in these little ways. And before I was still gesturing like I would from an Irish Philly guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Moving too much, and he's like, "No, dude, you're playing Southerner. You're slow, and you're from Texas, you're from down south.
Yeah.
It's a different type of movement." Once I had those little character adjustments, and those things like they only come from family. I've never known that, and having the courage to say, "Wait, where am I faulty? Where am I wrong? Why is it not as good? What can I do to better it?" Again, I top Pellegrino and take the Brando spot, but not since the original cast that he was in. Tony said that he ever had a cast in 20 years that he's ever had. And so when I played 3 roles in that, so it was like, that change and that growth only helped everybody in the whole show and the performance, and everyone instantly adjusted off me, and it became like really intimidating in this like force in this scene, and because I did less and just understood more.
That's a lesson, huh? Fuck yes. That is a lesson right there. Come on.
Yeah.
All right, I got questions for you from the live, dude. You having a good time? You don't got to run nowhere? You okay?
Oh yeah, no, I got like I said, a writing session. I got to call my investor back a little bit, but
I'll make it quick. Okay.
Now 113, baby, I think this top priority.
113, dog. Hey, I appreciate you being on time, you being ready.
Yeah, thank you.
Also, dude, thank you for letting me rehearse with you guys that day. That was fantastic. I always love the Philly crew, man. You guys show me so much love over there, so thank you to whoever's listening right now from the Philly crew. We love you. Yeah, man. And Tony, I love you too. So this is from our boy Army Centurion on Instagram. This is the homie right here. He's on all episodes. He's always following. He's the man. And he would donate $1 million if he could.
Yeah,
but he
I
can't.
love you, bro.
That's okay. And we still love you. He said, he's a very general question, but he wants to know specifically from you. What is an object you couldn't live without, Shaun Paul?
A bit of a minimalist, and I do subscribe to the Buddhist philosophy that everything, and Stoic philosophy as well, that everything has its time and place, so everything's meant to leave you at some point.
Right.
So I mean, if I had to pick one thing, I would have to say it's my red cameras right now, because that's most of my business resides around that. And it would just slow me down on productions. I get a lot of work because as an actor, not only can I go in and act, but then I can turn around and be like, "Oh, by the way, I can save production money by using gear like and most people don't have access to my stuff at that high end level of gear without renting it from my house.
Yeah.
So I'd have to go right now
Cameras,
because that keeps me fed. Or my other answer would be cool.
Okay. Okay. How about you, Mikey? What object you can't live without?
Yeah, I kind of have the same idea as like being like more as minimalist as I can, but yeah, like work and stuff. I don't have any like sentimental thing.
Just boots.
Boots.
Yeah, like you need boots.
Dave's book that he gave me, I probably can't.
Hey, that's the answer, dude.
Yeah.
Come on.
I know.
Give me the real.
It's probably my computer, man. I built it from blood and sweat. And you know what? I'm proud of that. And it's my baby, and I do all my work on it.
Yeah.
Podcast wouldn't be here without it.
Hey, there we go. We need it. I would say one object. Does Teddy count? Is he a living thing? Don't count.
I'm just gonna give you the answer. Just say wedding ring.
I'm not even wearing it.
Oh, there you go.
Hey, Shaun, I can't wear it because I've been boxing.
He got fat.
And my fucking knuckle is all messed up and bruised, and it can't fit my ring on my finger no more. Look at his hand right there. Look at it.
Oh man,
It's gnarly.
damn.
Dude, I cry every week about my hands. That right there has to be so fucking painful.
It's been about 2.5 months that I've had it now, so it's not.
It's kind of ways the pain.
Yeah, but we were in the middle of filming the feature film Elementary that Juliet and I were the leads in, and when I broke the hand, so I was like continuity-wise, I couldn't get a cast on it. And then just things have just kept going that I really haven't had the time to go to the hospital. To the hospital. Put it cast. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Damn. I don't have an object. I don't know. Just quick.
I will change my answer then while you're thinking.
Change your answer. Go ahead. Change it.
I you know what? It's not the cameras. It's my acting class journal. So I hold my 100 classes.
That's good. Yeah.
I would go. That would hurt me way more than the camera.
Yeah.
That's it right there. That's the answer. Damn, dude. One thing I can't live without. I want to be honest.
Teddy.
Yeah, my dog. Dude. But he's living. You can't hit him, right?
Yeah. No.
Shit.
It's weird with objects.
Yeah,
Materials.
tough, man. My TV. I like watching movies and all kinds of films, shows, shit like that. I love that. TV. Yeah. And then I have one more. What is something that constantly keeps you motivated? One thing.
Besides the children again now, fear of quitting.
The fear of quitting.
Fear of quitting.
What does that look like?
Yeah, I'm afraid to quit now because you know what everyone will say. I'm more afraid of quitting than I am of success now. When back in the starting, I was definitely more afraid of success, and I might have stumbled over my own feet a couple of times because I didn't want to get there.
Right.
As it became much more of a possibility, and I got more comfortable by reading about it. Yeah, the fear of quitting. I mean, man, yeah, I think about it a lot. Like, what if I missed a day? Rehearsals, like, you know what I mean? Like, and I driven people crazy when I went out to Denver. I drove my buddy crazy because he was the only person in the city that I knew could rehearse. So he was like, dude, I don't want to do this. I left the school. And I was like, no, dude, I gotta do it. Like, you gotta go do it. Now I'm like, I know it's like a drug at this point because if I don't do it, man, I think about all those children, and it's like the fear of quitting is something that drives me now.
Gotcha.
Wow.
Gotcha. Damn. How about you, Mike? Something that motivates you. Can't constantly keeps you motivated.
I think
This is from, by the way, from Journey of a Hero on Instagram. Matthew Brown. Shout out. Love you, dog. Love you.
I think something that motivates me every time is I'm trying to see if it's people close to me or if it's just in general seeing people like you working on your film and like writing every day, having your writing meetings and stuff. I see you guys doing it, and you like yo, I got another page down. I want to do that. Like seeing other people doing what they're doing that they want to do, fulfilling like that, it motivates me more. Cool. It makes me feel like I gotta do this. I gotta do my shit too. I have so much shit I want to do.
Yeah.
And another thing that I learned, we had a couple talks in the past week. It was a weird place.
Yeah.
But one big thing that
We've been hanging out.
yeah.
It's a Korean barbecue.
Yeah, last podcast we were talking about date. I took Dave on a date,
He did.
And that was a
And
good
I
time.
worked alone, dude.
Yeah, and a lot of things opened up, bro. Big week, huh? For Mikey at least.
Hey.
But what? What you say? Say it.
A lot of things open up. I said.
Okay, dude. It's so weird, bro. It's so weird.
I'm just playing, man. I like to keep it light, dude. I'm sorry. That's cringy. I'm sorry, guys.
He was gentle.
That's a dad joke right there, dude. That's a dad joke.
But just seeing, I remember you talked about it and Evan talked about it.
Yeah.
And now I'm forgetting what it even was. You're talking
No. You remember?
opening my legs. That's what you're talking
No, bro. I wasn't. I was no.
about. What was it, man? Fuck. It was such a wholesome moment. No, my mind is dirty.
The truth of the
My mind is
moment.
tainted.
This is the truth of the moment, dude. We talked a lot this weekend, man. There was a lot of stuff going on. You were,
Okay, I got it.
yeah. See, we're back.
The idea of like you were in like for where you are now,
Yeah.
you had to give some things up,
Oh yeah.
and it's worth it to say that you tried.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
that's one thing that really stuck with me, and I'm thinking about a lot now.
That motivates you.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it. And Mike just met a dime piece too. I was about to say that. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, man.
It was just all over the place.
I'm sorry.
It was just all over the
I'm
place.
just crazy, man. I'm sorry. Dude, I was trained too well, man. I gotta just trust the moment too much.
No,
Dude.
I love
And then I say a bad joke.
No,
And then
it's a good joke. I love
too
it.
much
Good
about
jokes. They're not bad.
Okay.
They're good.
Oh, I'm sorry. I can't help it, dude.
I love
I
it.
can't help it. Okay. Something that motivates me to not give up. Man, it's gotta be. I got this new spirituality thing going on in my life, dog. I gotta be honest. I gotta keep it real.
Dude, man.
I mean, recently it's been because last year, dog, it was fucked up year for me. Yeah, really broke me in a major way. Really brought me to a place I never thought I would go. And I've climbed out of that hole, and there's still things going terribly, but I have this like new thing. It's like a relationship with something that's bigger than me, and I just trust. Like I have this sense of faith now, and it motivates me that like my work, whatever I do in this earthly thing, I want it to have purpose, right? Like I want it to be through story. I believe that's what I was brought here for. I've seen the breadcrumbs, and I look back and I line up and I journal about them, and I'm like, man, look at what it took for this kid from Elmwood Park, New Jersey, who played basketball and got terrible grades, to find a thing. He was always in love with story and never knew it. Always in love with story, any kind, never knew it. And now he's at 30 years old, is able to look back and say, like, at least I made a thing that's moved people. I never thought I would fucking do that in my life. There was no path for that. There was no way that was going to happen if it was up to Dave. No shot. No way. So I think that that's what motivates me, man, is like the hope that if I continue to work and be a vessel to this thing, to storytelling from a more personal and vulnerable place, then I can hopefully reach somebody to feel less alone when they're in their hole. You know what I mean? When they're feeling like left, when they're alone. Like I want them to feel less alone. I want them to feel more hopeful. Because that's the story's done for me, good, bad, or otherwise. So that's what motivates me, man, to work. Yeah. And I want to be like heavyweight champion of the world. That's why I bought. I'm just playing. It's too late. The ship sailed, dude. The ship sailed, bro. The ship sailed. Yeah, but that's our questions, dude. Thank everyone who joined live, man. Dude, anything you want to ask us, anything that you got going on in your life, you want to plug?
I know you got stuff
We gotta plug stuff. We gotta plug.
And everything's gonna be in the description already.
We're gonna have links down below.
How it works.
Yes.
If anyone wants to check out my last week film, which is my short film that I have on my link in my bio, that me, girlfriend, and my roommate made it for.
Shout out.
And that's the one from writing it to making it was about a month. It was my response to the Rose Garden, and it gave me the opportunity to.
Come on.
Want to open up in those ways. No, it was, man. I needed to see that, and you were right. The pandemic and last year was brutal on me, man. I went to some dark places too. I know we talked about it before, and some stuff happened where I didn't know if I was coming back from it. I didn't know, but you find these things to tell the story, and like all of a sudden, everything that I was going through now helped me tell the story. And once I started doing that, and I was consistently doing that, then I started coming out of my write something that it was a journal entry of mine, and I was just like, all right, and bang, I just banged it out that day, and
we can watch it for free right now if we click that.
It's on my link for free. I put all my content out for free. I'm not worried about making money off of it right now. I'm worried about building, growing, being able to show people visually, like, hey, look what we did here versus what we did here. Yeah. You know, like, okay, now we had a budget for this one. Now look at the difference, you know, versus this was me and Tony's 18-year-old son directing this and doing the camera work with one sound guy.
Shout out, Jack. And we see you.
Yeah. Jack's doing it. Jack's actually the next few short films. He's directing both of them.
Boom.
Jack and I, we worked together on over 30 projects in the last 4 years now. He's 18 years old.
Wow.
Come on, man. You think they're playing out in Philly?
No, I don't.
You think they're playing around?
No.
They're not playing around, man.
We tend to collaborate on everything. So we both write, edit, and then we just cast from the school.
Yeah.
So we're not auditioning anyone. And like, lucky enough, I partnered up with Color Space Labs here in Philadelphia. So they're going to come on, crew it for me. Actually, they're going to do everything, all the post-production, everything. They're taking the whole thing from me, so I can get ready for the next project. And we're going out to LA to film, which they're coming to pay for. And then while we're out there, we're taking a meeting with the director producer who I've been working with for a feature, and trying to network and meet up with a bunch of people. Because right now, it's a huge opportunity. A lot of people are still sitting around with not much to do. So reach out to agents, reach out to managers, reach out to producers that you typically couldn't get a hold of now. You might actually have a shot at getting them. So I'm just trying to cram in as much as I can in this trip while I go out there. And then I'm also, and I can't mention the studio names yet. There's 2 studios, one in Denver and one in LA. Smaller studios, but they're partnering up with us in Color Space. So I'll now have a studio in a theater in 3 cities that I have.
Wow, man.
Right, and so like when we fly out to LA for the next short, our rehearsal space is one of the theaters. We already have it for free, and that's through amazing people. And it's all through Playhouse. I met all these people, worked with all of them, and it's like I'm just so grateful and blessed. And it's only come after years and years and years of still grinding. Now people are like, oh wow, look, this is happening. You just work with this person, you just work with that person. Oh my God, you're up for another project. Oh my God, whoa, you want to work on this now? And now we're getting money. And it's like, oh, okay. Well, yeah, I'll take your money now. But it took me a very long time to get here before people were doing that. Like, I never had investors call me up to be like, do you want money? Now I do. And it's nice, and it's like, someone to me the other day said, I just don't want to be Eduardo on the social network. I don't want to be left behind. I'm not a dick, man. I'm not going to do that.
I feel you, dog. I feel you.
For like 6 years, like, why would I not? And that's another good thing Kevin Hart taught me, let's work for the crew. He didn't always know how he was going to pay for everybody. Okay, let's figure it out. Let's take in more job. Let's find out other ways than that. I just been very blessed to have these new partners that are working with us, that have like minds, that are wanting to expand, want to be bigger. Like the guys at Color Space Labs are absolutely fantastic. We met on the set of Elementary. They were an amazing crew, fun to work with. Tensions were high. There's a lot going on. There's a small budget only, so there's really stretched thin. We were shooting in an actual element with guns. Right. Like that would be, not to spoiler alerts, but there's a lot that were going on, and I've seen other crews crack under pressure like that many times over. But their professionalism, their willingness to stay cool, you feel attention. These guys, and we just hit it off. So on the days that I wasn't scheduled to act, I would come crew for them for free. Wow. I just would crew for them. And I mean, I would just work, and we work, anything they needed. When they needed a crew member, I got Jack on board, I got this person on board. I started bringing quality people and showing them value. I started going, hey, what do you need from me? I'll do this. And then I brought nothing but Playhouse West actors to the stage, and not knocking anyone else in the film. The Playhouse West people did very well, and they were all very happy for it. Come on. And that was the one thing that the Color Space Labs, as they're going more narrative and into clients with actual talent involved for commercial stuff, they needed to this guy seems to know what he's doing. So I'm now, one of their casting directors. When they need casting, they just hit me up. And a good friend of mine today from class, one of our advanced students, hit him up and said, hey, there's an audition. Someone fell out. You were perfect for the role. And they sent right over and, hopefully got it. But I've just been pulling right out of class now, sending our people on paid work.
You got a little pipeline going, bro. That's a little pipeline.
And so when I want to do my projects, hey, you come work for me for free because I made you that money.
Hey, don't mess with the Philly crew, man. Don't fuck with them. I'm saying it right now.
And the beautiful thing is I'm not the only filmmaker. There's a whole bunch of us filmmakers are all inspired and pushing each other. And the work that has come out of the Philly teams, it's just every year they're getting better and better and better. And the people that have stayed consistent with their work is just, oh my God, more solid and grinding and growing like we are. And it's such an easy sell once you have it in with clients, which Coach Space Lab has been doing quite well for themselves. So once you already have people booking them, I'm not out wearing 22 hats trying to get jobs done.
Absolutely.
Okay, right. What do you need casting wise? Got it. What do you need producing? I'm the fixer. Call me. I got it. I'll do whatever it takes. And I'll start getting on the horn. I'll be on the horn all day. Just don't. You need this. You need what? How can we get this done? What kind of location are we getting? Blah, 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 blah. I'll call 50 places to get one yes. If I have to. And when you have a team of people operating like that, and I only have to wear one hat or two hats, rather than all that, you get so much more accomplished. You grow so much faster, and then you get to see where your strengths and weaknesses are even quicker because you're not so overwhelmed. I try to remember every last little thing that you need to do on your own.
Right.
So, and then when you just have good people in your corner and you're around good people that are passionate, that want to grow, that want to learn, and that's one thing that I will say to any actors that are listening that are not in some type of professional school. Every crew member out there is kicking your butt with studying and growing and learning and trying to be better because every crew member really does all the time and they work way harder than actors do. So if you're not working half as hard as the grips are and the gaffers are, then you're never going to make it as an actor.
Hey, preach, dude. Preach. Come on, it's hard work, dude. I hate when people say it's an easy thing, bro. I can't deal with it because you don't know what it takes. You do not know what it takes, man. It takes a lot of work. To do it well, man. To do it for real. To not rob people of their money and their time. It takes a lot of fucking work, dude. And that's why I have so much respect for Tony and the school and your crew, man.
Dude, it's the school. It's not my crew. It's just
the school crew, the tribe. And I'm like a cousin, I just want you guys to remember that. I'm like the Italian city cousin that you guys hit up once in a while.
I know, man. Absolutely. We're like, who's showing up next?
Hey, I appreciate you letting me come. That was a big day for me to get out of the house and first time out and rehearse, and I felt totally accepted, and I was able to work and just felt very good. So thank you again for allowing me to do that with you guys, man.
Anytime, and my doors are always open to you guys. Absolutely.
Mike, you might want to get in there one day.
Dude, yeah. I'm looking to someday. But I don't know when. I always wanted to do that.
You might get some repetition.
Yeah, please. Even as just a filmmaker, it really does help.
I can see that.
It's like our teacher, my teacher's son, Jack. He doesn't want to be an actor. He literally was going to go to college, and I was like, "What? Be a filmmaker?" He said, "Don't do that. Are you kidding me? I'm dead. That's what I mean. Don't do that. That's the worst thing ever." Your dad will teach you. You'll make more. And I said, I went to film school for 5 years. I came out with 3 finished projects, even though I worked on like 300-400 projects in my time. And all the projects I finished were mine. But even the older guy that I had, once he got his grade, he didn't care about finishing a project. I'm like, well, let me keep editing that. Okay. I'm like, all right, well, I'm not going to do it. If you don't care, it's your thing, So whatever. I'm not going to keep working on it. And so it's like, Jack, I said, don't go to film school. Come here, when you make movies, you will have more. And he has. And he's doing bigger things. And he's working with Color Space full time. So he's with us on the team.
Look at that.
He's working, he's doing marketing, sales, and other things for it. I mean, crew work as well. he's just crushing it. But it's because he has been on so many sets and in the same capacity, not just director, producer, writer, but he'll just PA, he'll do this, he'll do that. And he's learned so much, and his dad being who his dad is, he's gotten a really good grasp on it. And honestly, he's only one of the few people I trusted until I started partnering up with Public Space Labs and these other guys to direct my stuff, because I know he knows how to talk like I can. I know he knows and understands what I'm trying to do. And I know he understands writing in the capacity that I'm doing. So to get him to direct, so when people are like, why would you have an 18-year-old direct? And I said, because he won't lie to me and he knows what he's doing. That's the simple, polished truth. And there's been plenty of times we've been on sets where I've been like his DP and I'm going to shoot something. Like, what about this location here? He goes, well, it's good for this scene, but the next scene when the mom comes, and I was like, oh, you're right, we should shoot this way over here. But he's never been afraid to say what he really feels, and I've always taken in and really considered it. And there's many times where we go, you got time to shoot both ways, or we don't. But this kid grinds. He writes, he edits, he shoots, like he does everything, and he does it on his own, and no one forces him to. I mean, he lives with me now. We wound up moving in together. And like we're always just, he's like, what are you doing? Going to work. I'm like, all right, me too. So it's good to have those types of mindsets around you all the time. You know what I mean? Hey,
he's 18, right? He's 18 years old.
18.
Come on, man. It was fun to rehearse with him, man. I love rehearsing with him. I got to rehearse with Jack.
Really?
We went out that day. That was real special. I built house of cards with him.
Damn.
He understands it in a way that most directors won't already, and it's like keep developing that. By the time you're 38,
man. Come on.
All over.
Couple decades.
Yeah, come on. Whatever you want, man.
Hey, thanks to Jack for rehearsing, dude. Thank you, Shaun, for showing love, dude. Thank you to everyone from Philly for always showing me love. I really appreciate it. If you guys are listening to the show, Mikey and I appreciate you deeply. Shaun, thank you, bro. Thanks for doing the pod, man.
So 113.
If we want to train with Shaun at Playhouse West Philly, dude, and want to learn from Tony Savant, I think you can just go on the website, right? playhousewest.com and sign up.
And then just we have a Los Angeles school and a Philadelphia school.
There we go.
Well, guys, I want to say thank you. I love you. I'm grateful for being here. Episode 113.
There we go, baby. He did it. 113. I told you. I came through on that, huh? Come on. I made my word here.
He's my lucky number, man. I have the film models on my ankle tattoo.
There it is. You put 113 on YouTube.
Hell yeah. Dude, there we go, man. Shaun Paul Costello in the building. That was episode 113 of the podcast.
Yeah.
If you just have any questions or you want to tell us how everything went, how the podcast is, drop a comment
down below.
Let us know on Instagram, everything. Podcast is on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, the video, Anchor.fm, www.yourpodcast.co. Canal 40M. My name is Mike, and I'm signing out.
Hey, my name is Dave, and I love y'all, and be kind to one another, and you are loved very much. Shaun, do that.
Yeah, all right.
You gotta sign out.
Oh, you're giving me last words? Yes, I love you guys back. Nothing but love. Thank you. There we go. I hope you guys nothing but success from here on out. Your show's growing, man. I love the show. Keep going, guys. And get the hot sauce. It's good hot sauce.
Hey, there it is. Almost hot sauce.